The Bermuda Triangle, also called the Devil's Triangle, is the region of the western part of the North Atlantic Ocean that goes between Bermuda, Florida, and Puerto Rico. It covers about 500,000 miles of ocean, so an absolutely huge area. Some people say it ranges much further, which would of course increase the incidence of ships and planes crashing or vanishing. It is supposedly where aircraft and ships just mysteriously disappear, never to be seen or heard from again. In fact, it is said to be a place where over 50 ships and over 20 planes have disappeared, sometimes with no trace at all. So when did this legend start? The legends about the strange occurrences in this area were recorded as far back as Christopher Columbus, who sailed through this area the first time he went to the New World. I say this with quotes because it is only a new world if you strictly go by European history, but that's a discussion for another time, or maybe not at all. Columbus reported that one night he saw a giant flame crash into the ocean while in this area of the sea. It sounds eerie, but it was probably just a meteor. He also said he saw a strange light in the distance a few weeks later. No idea what that was, to be honest. Then he reported that he was getting erratic compass readings, which leads us to one of the interesting facts about a small part of the Bermuda Triangle that sets it apart from other areas of the ocean. This is one of the very few places on Earth where true north and magnetic north line up. So normally pilots will account for this difference, and if they don't in that spot, it could explain why they are getting confused at times. So I guess you have to tune your instruments differently to account for the fact that true north and magnetic north line up there. The mystery of the Bermuda Triangle gained further hold on popular culture and in the minds of people when Shakespeare wrote The Tempest, which is rumored to have been based on a real-life Bermuda Triangle shipwreck. It was making its way into literature and slowly taking hold of our minds and imagination. Really, though, it didn't become super well-known phenomena until the 1900s. In an infamous incident in March of 1918, the USS Cyclops, a massive 542-foot-long Navy cargo ship carrying 309 men and 10,000 tons of manganese ore, went missing and was presumed to have sank somewhere between Barbados and Chesapeake Bay. Although it was capable of doing so, no distress signal was ever sent out by the Cyclops, and there was never a single bit of wreckage found. Then, in 1941, two sister ships of the Cyclops similarly vanished along the same route. This is getting eerie, isn't it? There was a pattern beginning where ships would go across here and would vanish or be found abandoned. Of course, it wasn't every ship, and it seemed to occur frequently enough that people were taking note. However, with the Cyclops and its sister ships, there is a popular theory that the ships were too overloaded with cargo that caused them to sink due to structural failure because they were maybe not intended to carry too much. So they overloaded all of them, and they all had a similar structural issue that became apparent when they were carrying too much cargo. It is said that the Bermuda Triangle can disorient pilots. For example, in 1945 in December, there was a squadron of 5 U.S. Navy bombers carrying 14 men who got disoriented while flying over the area and were never seen or heard from again. The leader had reported a malfunctioning compass, and they flew around aimlessly until they were forced to ditch their planes at sea. I don't know why someone else wouldn't have taken over if their compass wasn't malfunctioning, unless they all were. But can you imagine a whole squadron just vanished here? Then the rescue plane that was sent after them, carrying another 13 men, also vanished with no trace. And it wasn't like they weren't looking. There was a massive, weeks-long search for the missing men, but nothing was ever found of the original squadron or of the rescue plane. So that's super weird to me. Yeah, okay, one squadron goes missing because there's a malfunctioning compass. But then the rescue plane goes missing? Another thing that's weird about the Bermuda Triangle is that there were ships and boats that have vanished there even in very calm waters without ever having transmitted a distress signal. So with all of this going on, in 1946, author Vincent Gaddis coined the term Bermuda Triangle, and it clearly stuck. As I said, planes and ships were never seen again, and there was no wreckage. Sometimes, though, ships were found abandoned for no reason. In other instances, a distress signal was transmitted, and then there was no trace of the plane or ship, and there was no wreckage ever found. One time, a plane vanished there after having just sent an all's well signal. There are a few theories that people use to try to explain the phenomena of the Bermuda Triangle. These theories are often concocted by paranormal authors and include claims that it is aliens, Atlantis, sea monsters, time warps, and reverse gravity fields. Others say that the pilots don't account for the area where compass north and true north line up and end up getting lost out there. Others postulate that there are magnetic anomalies, waterspouts, or huge eruptions of methane gas from the ocean floor. It's starting to sound a bit like Star Trek. Others blame tropical cyclones or huge waves that can occur from tropical storms meeting, but that wouldn't explain the planes and ships that went missing on clear days with no distress signal at all. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration has claimed that planes and ships haven't disappeared with any greater frequency than any other parts of the ocean that are well traveled, but the stories of the Bermuda Triangle persist. So they say if you take any area of the ocean that has this much traffic going through, that is this large, you're going to have the same or similar or maybe even more disappearances. Despite all the disappearances, there are also so many planes and ships that safely traverse this area every day without incident. There is a claim that this myth is fabricated or exaggerated by writers who are inspired by the idea of it, but that it doesn't really have much basis in reality. So, with all this, what do you think? Is it just an urban legend with all the disappearances having scientific explanations, or do you think there are other forces at work in the Bermuda Triangle?